All right, everyone, we should be live. Stand and deliver. Let's see if we are live on Rumble. Pause, unpause, and repause. That's what you have to do. Yes, by the way, you might hear a little bit of noise outside. The neighbor's mowing the lawn, and the window is open. This is the heat wave stream. We don't have much of a heat wave here in Vermont at the moment, but at the same time, it's still a little bit warmer than normal, actually. Jiska Pond, 30 minutes late. Holy shit. Interesting. Yeah, no, I just basically at this point I go live whenever I want to, actually. We're going to be talking about Jaws turning 50. That was 2 days ago. We've got the heat wave archived, of course. And Trump and Iran, there are some interesting things happening with regards to Trump and Iran. The negotiations, some of them are more fruitful than others. Let's see. You're being put in a timeout. Just got pawned. I'm sorry. If you're going to spam like that, then you're going to get banned from the channel. I already have enough problems with the last beacon over on Rumble. It's a big problem. Philip Cochran, I'm still ticked off about this morning. Yes, we'll be talking about ticks too, because there is some fairly major science news, actually, with regards to ticks and tick-borne illnesses. And I have a feeling that I'm seeing a connection between Lyme disease and certain other diseases that are tick-borne. And it's not necessarily a great thing. We'll be looking up alpha-gal, by the way. Just pop that in real quick. AGS. Mulgara. Clank. I'm pissed at Trump for launching this retarded campaign against Massey. AIPAC is trying to find someone to replace Massey. It won't work, I don't think, and hope. I'm not really a fan of the infighting between Trump and Massey, myself as well. That being said, while I am Team Trump, Massey does have some good points, and he should be listened to. Also, debuting the retarded ad on 1-year anniversary of Massey's wife's death is truly despicable. I really think that was intentional. Yeah, it probably was. Just saying. Altron V. I hate that Jaws film. Jaws is a good movie. Come on. Jaws is a really good movie. Really, really good, actually. I've watched it probably 100 times at this point. It's definitely on my top 10 list. Brotherhood of the Wolf will always be my favorite movie, unless something even greater comes along. That's going to be a pretty high hurdle. And Ninth Gate is my second favorite, which is funny because a lot of people panned it. They didn't like Ninth Gate. I think they thought it was too slow-paced. That's sort of the point, though, of atmospheric horror. Kenarx, Sticks, will we ever get back Minecraft, gardening, and MRE content? Absolutely. Anton, which I will shout out in a moment, actually, sent me a South African MRE. I just have to find it. Then I will be eating that live on camera. I've got some vegetarian lasagna, actually. It's the low-salt version, though, so you have to adulterate it a little bit in order to make it more palatable. It's pretty good, though, overall. Bro forgot about Deep Blue Sea. Never heard of it, actually. Come to think of it. Yeah, so we do have to talk about a few things, but first, let's get to our sponsors. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. Who doesn't want those? Also, they've got doggo snacks that are highly in demand because doggos really, really love them, actually. Use code STICKS, by the way, on all 3 of these sponsored sites for a discount. I like cultivated mind. I take the mushroom pills every single day. This one's almost empty. How sad. And there's only like 4 of them left in there. Thankfully, I get set up with these bottles on a regular basis, so I have plenty more. Secondly, BiltongUSA.com. Anton can hook you up with delicious meat and also Bovrite and things of that nature. Vegemite, Marmite, Bovrite, you name it. I recommend the bison and the cabanassi. Those are my particular favorites. He's also got teas and things available as well. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is jamnbean.com, where you can get lots and lots of Clanker coffee. Yeah, indeed. Got a resupply. I'm going to have to boil this off. Eat that. Ah, it smells so good. It smells amazing. I also got teas available too. I got a bunch of them. There's Cha-Cha, which is interesting. Yunnan-Shig, that's my favorite, I think. As far as the caffeinated teas go. You've got, well, more Yunnan-Shig, actually. Haven't gone into these ones yet. Ginseng Green. I think I'm going to try that one next. These are loose leaf teas, so you have to boil them off in a pot and then strain them out, or you can just let it settle. You can read your tea leaves, too. Do a little bit of occultism. There's nothing wrong with that. Canacarks, thanks, Sticks. You're awesome, man. Yeah, you don't worry. There will be much more MRE content. I think I'll try the low-salt veggie lasagna and then also the South African MRE. By the way, if you can hook me up with MREs, I'm always willing. I know that there are some members of militaries around the world that watch the channel. And yeah, that's definitely a good time had by all. Mulgera, but you should watch the interview between Theo Von and Massey. It's pretty damn good. It's a good 2 hours, but very worth it. But yeah, with the whole Massey-Trump war, I'm reminded of a rough quote from Hans Hermann Hoppe. Conservatives should take a libertarian lesson, and libertarians should take a conservative lesson. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Trump and the GOP certainly aren't taking libertarian lessons. Like you said, Massey should be listened to. Yeah, again, while I support Trump's variant of populism, Massey is not a bad person. He's not unintelligent, so his opinion should be respected. It doesn't mean that you have to always go along with it, but there should be some degree of respect. You're not going to see this in the Democratic Party. In the Democratic Party, it's more like a nonstop civil war at the moment, honestly. It would be probably better if you didn't have that within the GOP. And again, I say this as a non-conservative, a non-Republican, just trying to give advice where advice is due. The Republican Party really does need to get its shit together. It needs to hold rank. Sal the Hamster, Sticks, you can get pallets of MREs on GovPlanet. Oh yeah, I know, you can get entire cases of them. It's just that, I've already eaten most of the US rations, and I would rather get, something exotic. Like if somebody sent me, a Korean ration or something like that. Something interesting. I've tried rations from about, how many countries now? About 12, I think, actually. I've had Czech, which was alright. Spanish, which was, mediocre, actually, which is strange. Dutch, which was very good. Australian, which was extremely good. US, of course. British. I've never had a Canadian military ration, oddly enough. Even though here in Vermont, you're only 100 miles from the Canadian border. I've never actually had a Canadian ration. I hear that the maple ham specifically is highly rated. Mulgera, it's also just like you're really going to spend over $1 million in ads against Massey and not go after the commie running for New York City mayor? Like, come on. That's actually more on the strategic side. I think that reasonable Republicans wanted the commie to win because the commie is more likely to lose and or lose their sanity once in office if they do win than somebody like Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo would have done at least a reasonable job, but now he's not really in the running. It looks like they're going to nominate a literal communist. This hurts the Democratic Party on a federal level. I think that was the whole goal. I think that the Republicans didn't really act because they're like, well, if Cuomo's in there, all right, some dude who's been indicted and is kind of sort of Team Trump actually at this point, or the commie gets elected and the Democrats fuck themselves. That's basically what is happening. Digger Trock, get Somalian pirate MREs, yar. So a pile of sand, actually. It would be fun to make joke MREs from like sub-third world countries like Rwanda or Somalia, and all it is literally like a packet full of dirt or something like that with some seasoning mix. That'd be kind of funny. Kanakarks, do you think since Trump is making mineral deals with China, would you think he'd make energy deals with Canada? And what's your point of view on drill baby drill? Thanks. I do believe in drill baby drill, responsibly of course. I do believe in environmentalism, but I believe in the real environmentalism, so not NIMBYism. Government regulations don't work. It's much better to simply incentivize people to plant a tree and pick up a piece of trash or something like that. I do think that energy deals with Canada are likely. I do believe that Trump is capable of accomplishing that, which is great, actually. It'll lower energy costs within the United States as well. It's mutually beneficial. Just sort of makes sense. Mulgera, get a Haitian MRE, and it's just human meat butchered from that warlord barbecue, lol. Yeah, some countries don't really have military rations in the sense that others do. I would love to get a Japanese MRE. That I would prize that, actually. Anton sent me a South African one, and I can't wait to eat it on camera once I find it. I would love to try the Chinese MRE, although mainly it's just rice, if I remember correctly. By the way, Stolas is in the background, coughing. He's smoked a lot of weed. It's a big problem. Yeah. Tap Shanks. I ordered a Mexican MRE. It was just weed, coke, and Tecate. Yeah. Some MREs are better than others. The US MRE is pretty good, honestly. It's not as good as the British MRE, but the older British MREs, the ones that came in the cardboard boxes with the British flag on them, were better than the ones that they have now. Just saying. The best MRE I ever had was an Australian MRE, a CRM, actually it's called. And absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't believe it. And it's like fucking 4,000 calories or something like that. I've had Swedish, I've had Norwegian, I had, Ukrainian and Polish as well, and Russian. The Russian ration was all right, but the meat in there is completely unsavory. Everything else, all the other components are pretty good, and for some reason, the Polish ration is like half fucking candy. They include plastic little cups in the fucking ration. It makes no sense, logistically speaking. Ukrainian ration, and Estonian, I couldn't really eat much from them because, in shipping, sometimes things get a bit damaged. So I only ate a few components. Those that I had were alright. There was nothing terribly wrong with them. I think the best thing that I've ever had in an MRE, though, is actually from the Russian ration. They had this, I don't know exactly what it was. It was this little tin, and it was some sort of spread. Clearly, you were supposed to put it on bread or crackers or something like that. I don't know how the fuck they made it, but it was delicious. The second best component was from the Australian ration. They have these candies, lifesavers, actually, and they are musk flavored. And this is definitely something that is going to hyper polarize people in general. Some people are going to love it, like myself. Some people are going to hate it. It has the eau de perfume, so to speak. It's literally musk for perfume, and that's the flavor. I happen to believe it's very tasty. Some people probably would disagree with me. Just saying. Cam 2425IA, dirt parties, conflict diamonds, and an AIDS syringe. Yeah, I saw some AIDS syringes when I was down in New Orleans, actually. Quite literally, right on the garbage can. They were just sitting there. I don't know whether these were clean needles that were left, for people who are down and out and shit, and addicted, or whether they were already used. I have no clue. I didn't want to get near them, let's put it that way. Mulgera, what are your thoughts on the Orthodox Christian Church? I've started attending a Greek Orthodox church, and I won't lie, I'm intrigued. Also, one of my LP of Maryland buddies converted recently. Cool. Yeah, I have no problem with any church, actually. I oppose organized religion in the general sense. Some religions more than others. You may have noticed this. The Orthodox Church seemed to be pretty cool as far as Christianity goes. I'm just not interested in converting myself. But yeah, you do you. Shaylock, hell yeah, packs of cigarettes came standard in the old MREs. Yeah, Steve MRE Info, actually, if you watch his channel, he's gotten some old MREs, and he's gotten some weird shit in them. Like, especially with the aircraft packs, the ones for pilots, they used to have, like, fucking benzos, and later on Dexy, certainly other, various mind-altering substances. They had cigarettes in them. They used to have these little 4-packs of cigarettes that they would issue, and, it's sort of... you didn't know which cigarettes you were getting, but you got cigarettes at least, so, I suppose that kept the troops marginally more happy. Honestly, I think we should return to drugging up the troops like we did in the Korean and Vietnam era. I think that they would be more effective, honestly. Would it wear down their health slightly? Yeah, maybe. Would it make them more invigorated when they're using these substances and make them more violent, which is sort of the fucking point? Yeah, I think that it would, actually. I mean, imagine that you get like 2 4-packs of cigarettes, a bunch of benzos, like enough to kill a horse, basically, and so forth in your military ration. It probably helped to counterbalance the fact that the food back then was not generally reckoned as very good. It wasn't really until the 1980s that the United States developed what we would conceive of as a reasonably modern MRE. Had a couple of them from the 80s, late 80s, and early 90s, and they were alright. There's nothing terribly wrong with them. They were certainly better. But they had all these weird components that didn't really make sense. Like they'd have like packets of M&Ms and stuff like that in them, just taking up space. They should put me in charge. They should literally make me in charge of developing MREs. I guarantee morale would improve considerably. Guaranteed. That would be hysterical. Oh yeah, great story. Did you hear the story about the Finnish guy in World War II that ate a whole squad rations of Ferdinand and then skied 250 men? Yes, I believe you're referring to the White Wolf, if I remember correctly. Richard Vernadow, Sticks, what's the best MRE you have ever eaten so far? The Australian CRM with the carrot soup. Oh, man, it was fucking delicious, like you'd order it in a restaurant. The Australians definitely have mastered the art of making military rations. They have these enormous plastic packets. I mean, it must be a lot of carrying weight, but they're exceptionally high calorie, and most of the components are delicious. Also, they include, ironically, Vegemite in absolutely every single one of them. Which reminds me, it's time to eat a bit of Vegemite. She made me a Vegemite sandwich. Well, Bovrite is superior. I will say, I do enjoy the flavor of Vegemite. Marmite, a little bit less. My dad's out there rambling about something. I don't know. I have no fucking clue. I never do. Yeah, let's talk about tick-borne illness, though, since it was brought up in chat. The same. Tasmanot. Bro, no, don't eat it like that. It goes on bread. Yeah, it goes on toast, usually. But I just eat Bovrite, Marmite, and Vegemite plain as well. Personally, I think that it's delicious. F off, cook. I'd like to see you eat anchovy paste like that. It's nice and salty too. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about tick-borne illnesses. You've got an illness called alpha-gal. If you're not familiar with that, it is a tick-borne illness, generally, and it literally makes you allergic to meat. Now, here's the fun part, and I talked about this in the morning video. You know how Lyme disease just sort of sprouted out of nowhere, right next to a biolab many years ago? Well, alpha-gal was first found in the same region. They overlap. It's interesting. It's almost like the government is creating a bunch of tick-borne illnesses. Hey, let's force everyone to become vegetarian and then cripple them, or something like that. Very, very strange. There's a... Yeah, my parents are just rambling about random shit. It's a little bit distracting, but it's okay. Yeah, I noticed that the outbreak of both of these diseases, both tick-borne, happened to coincide with the existence of a high-level biolab. Now, isn't this a coincidence? Where have we seen this before? With the disease that shall not be mentioned. Yeah. By the way, since I am a Vermonter, I am going to do my due diligence. I have maple syrup, and I'm going to chug some. Little bit too light. That's more of a grade A. I like it a little bit darker than that myself. But yeah, Vermonters, we do it differently. Let me put it that way. And by the way, I've noticed a proliferation of ticks. I never saw one when I was a little kid until I was 15 or 16, something like that. And then I had one on my belly, actually. Left a mark that lasted about a decade, actually. Managed to pull it off before it gave me Lyme disease or some shit like that. Thankfully, I am not allergic to red meat. That would be bad when I want a ribeye steak. That would be particularly bad. But I had another one crawling on me more recently. I've seen 5 or 6 ticks, actually, in the last few years. Before, it's like you'd see one in a decade or something like that. It's certainly not because the grass is taller or anything like that. They're also trying to dovetail this with climate change. Well, as the climate warms, ticks will have more habitats to inhabit. Yeah, no, I have a feeling that they're being proliferated by some other methodology. Just saying. Bobby Tutu, we should breed 1 billion possums. Yeah, possums are natural-born tick killers. Never heard a possum. They are resistant to rabies and they eat ticks. So they are our friends. Richard Vernadow, Sticks. What restaurant in Rutland has the best steak? Um, I don't think I've ever gotten a steak in a restaurant in Rutland. I usually just cook my own. Mulgara, what's the over-under? Iran or Israel breaks the ceasefire? I've been seeing Israel is apparently going to enforce air superiority in Iran to prevent nuclear enrichment. It looks like the nuclear facilities there are pretty much gone. And so there's no more real reason for Israel to run air superiority because they've basically already won. That being said, I think that the ceasefire will end up getting broken. It's only a matter of time. My hope is that there's a lasting peace deal, but that'll have to be brokered by the United States because the United States is, in control of Israel effectively. And Iran, of course, is a Russian ally. And so you're going to have like trilateral talks. You have to go to Camp David or some shit like that. My hope is peace. My expectation is kinda sorta peace. So a shaky ceasefire that gets sporadically violated effectively. That's unfortunately what I believe will happen. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we've got the heat wave watch. It's still ongoing for the next 24 hours. It's not so hot here, but when I was in New York City, it went over 100 degrees. And so there was a reason why I sort of conked out at that point. It was incredibly, intensely hot. When I went out onto the porch, for example, and I usually go barefoot most of the time. Although, if I had had my shoes on, the rubber eventually probably would have melted to the cement. It was intense. It was like literally putting your feet on, a piece of stone that's being heated up by a fire below to cook a pizza or something like that. It was really, really interesting. Mulgara, I think you're right. The ceasefire will break. I just pray it isn't too soon. And if it does break, I want zero involvement. Agreed completely. Oh god, it was like 100 degrees with 60% humidity here in Maryland yesterday, and the day before it was brutal. Would not recommend. Yeah, it was hotter in New York City than in Louisiana for a couple of days. Was here in Vermont, we almost never get anything over the upper 80s. And that's considered a heat wave here. If it hits 85 degrees, 86 degrees, that's considered a heat wave in Vermont most of the year. In New York City, it went over 100. And I've seen 120 degree weather down in southern Texas. Thankfully, it's usually not that humid, so it's a little bit better. Yeah, and I had to walk around. When I was in New York City, I had things that I had to do. So I'm walking around for extended periods of time. I'm literally dressed in just a Hawaiian shirt. I can't even wear my fucking hat, so I look like a retard, basically, because I look much better with this hat. Just saying. Stand and deliver. There's a reason why there's a feather in it now. Yeah, I'm a dandy highwayman, but I have to walk around, and I didn't bring my shorts, so I've got long pants on, and basically just a Hawaiian shirt, and I'm walking around New York City sweating my balls off. It was pouring down my face, like it was literally trickling down my cheeks and shit. It was kind of a miserable time, actually. That particular day when it went over 100 degrees because I had no choice. I had to go out. Inland Surfer. Hi, Sticks. I'm from East Lyme, Connecticut. Spent my youth outdoors. Luckily, never caught anything. The schools would screen students every year. The Plum Island floor runs deep. Yes, Plum Island. Look that up, everyone. Let's go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, shall we? I'm almost tempted to grab one of those vegetarian lasagna MREs and just eat it on the live stream. Huh. Maybe tomorrow. I think I'll do an extra live stream on Saturday to make up for the other day. And maybe I'll do it then. I'll try to find the South African one. I just don't know exactly where I put it. Which is sad, because I'm sure the components in there are probably pretty good. South Africa has a modern military, and based on the packaging and everything like that, it looks like it should be relatively tasty. Yeah, I think here's the top three. Australia, they get number one. Britain gets number two, and Sweden gets number three. The United States gets number four. So, yeah, there's basically a running list of really great MREs. And the Dutch MRE would be a number five. The Dutch MRE is really good as well, and fully modern. It's got retort packets and so forth, so it's fully modernized by modern standards and everything. The Australian MRE really does it for me, not just because of the Vegemite. I mean, I do like that, but whatever. But the musk candy, the carrot soup, they've got various halal options, of course, and so forth, vegetarian options and so forth, and just generally all around well made. About the only thing is it's very, very heavy compared to the 24-hour rations from other countries, because I've had them from multiple countries. So, like, some still use a box. Like, I believe that the Russian ration still uses the old-style packaging. Honestly, I thought that Britain should have maintained its old-style packaging as well. It looks better. I realize that it's less functional, but the food options were more tasty, and they're more guarded against the environment. That forms an advantage, as opposed to the newer rations, which weigh about the same, but, at the same time, then you gotta dispose of all the fucking plastic and shit like that. Mulgera, how is it that the British MRE is so good, yet typical British cuisine is beans on toast, basically? Also, Sargon's insane for his pro-well-done steak. Oh, Sargon has joined Team Razorfist on that? Shit, I'll talk about that in a moment. Absolute barking lunacy, medium rare or bust. I agree with you 100%. Yes, Plankton, the official way to cook a steak is medium rare. Preferably marinated for at least 24 hours beforehand in a various mix. It depends on what herbs and spices you like. I usually marinate mine and make it a little bit on the sweet side. And I will always choose ribeye. Ribeye, medium rare. Technically, you don't really need anything other than salt and pepper in order to make it tasty. But I like to marinate mine. A little soy sauce, some onion, I always had my steak well done as a child. Then, one time I got drunk, and one of my ex-girlfriends, who had worked in the restaurant industry for over a decade, she made me a medium rare steak. And she marinated it off, and I was like, fuck, because I was wasted at the time. And it was one of the best things that I ever tasted, and now I've never gone back. I will eat a well-done steak, if it's properly made, but it's hard to properly make a well-done steak. What happens if somebody orders their steak well done? We ask them politely but firmly to leave. Some of you will get that reference. BWY 553. Sticks, you think the New York primary is a national trend? And should we laugh, or is this a serious threat to Republicans? Will they lose all the normie voters? I think that this is actually good for the Republican Party. Here's why. It's going to make the Democrats look insane. Because they literally just nominated a socialist to run for office. Doesn't matter. I mean, New York's going to be run by socialists anyway. But to have someone who's openly and avowedly socialist and not afraid to tell you about it, like basically a miniaturized version of Bernie Sanders, that's not going to go over well on the federal level. This harms them on the national level. On the regional level, it no harm, no foul. And the Democrats haven't learned their lesson. It's just like when the Justice Dems knocked off a bunch of neoliberal candidates to get in AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and all of these others. The Gang of Four that became the Geek Squad now is, receding. It embarrassed the party. And Bernie Sanders, by the way, my own state senator, has decided to take up that mantle in order to, almost creepily at times, groom AOC for obviously a presidential run or something bigger, maybe a Senate slot or something like that. But they're conflating a handful of blue districts with the entire nation, not realizing that the vast majority of the nation has already rejected their message. And so this is really bad for the Democrats, because what happens in New York ain't staying in New York, so to speak. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Yeah, eco-peak bicycling. Democrats are being honest, at least. They're all socialist. Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. What goes for New York is not going to go in Wyoming. It's not going to go in Iowa. It's not going to work in Texas. The Democrats don't seem to understand this. They have spent years not understanding this. This is why they lost the last election. They don't understand, hey, having open communists in our party might not be popular in some of these swing states. Maybe Michiganers don't want communism. Maybe Wisconsinites don't want communism. Who'd have thunk it? What goes in San Francisco or New York City or a handful of other places, even Miami has gone red at this point, I think, it doesn't go for the rest of the nation. But they're too stupid to understand that. The best thing that the Democrats can do is hope that the Republicans implode themselves at this point, because the Democrats are definitely imploding. So they have to count on the Republicans to do like an implosion match. Who can smack themselves in the balls, more quickly, basically. Mulgara, British cuisine and opinions on steak alone are enough for me to endorse invading and occupying that bastard island. And you know my opinion on war, lol. We will be greeted as cuisine liberators. The British crave food democracy. They have steak, WMD. I will say that a full English is pretty good. Fried mushrooms, roasted tomatoes, you got some bacon, you got some sausage and of various kinds, beans and stuff. It's definitely a high protein meal. I've had a couple of them. Trust me, they're pretty good. Spike. Jump on the stream late. Thoughts on SCOTUS ruling basically nuking the rogue judges and allowing the EO to end birthright citizenship to take place on illegals? Was not aware of this. That's going in the docket. Thank you for telling me. Let's see. And of course the Democrats literally calling it deplorable. Let me see. Oh, this is just an ending of the still newsworthy, still thank you, but this is just an end to the injunctions against Trump's cases going forward. We've seen this before. I always have to fact check these things because the liberal lamestream legacy media really, really loves hyperbole. And it really, really loves to take everything that a liberal says very seriously. So if they come out and say, oh my God, he's going to kill all the immigrants or something like that, and then you find out it's basically just a random policy that is unimpeachable in its form. Donald Trump wants kids to die. Oh, you mean that Donald Trump said he didn't want additional gun control? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. This is the sort of reporting that we have to deal with. Trust me, it is an unenviable job that I have to do when I'm doing news analysis. It's very fun. I get to be independently employed and speak my mind and so forth. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. But at the same time, oh my God, slogging through the filth that is legacy media. Yeah, sometimes it gets a little boring. It gets a little tiresome. Mulgara, damn, a full English sounds good, but I also want to irrationally hate the British. Let me have this one, lol. Okay, you can irrationally hate the British, but still, try an Ulster fry. BWI, OMG sticks from opt-outs for LGBT indoctrination to the end of nationwide injunct. There's all kinds of stuff in SCOTUS today. Huh. Let me see that. Now, not void, SCOTUS. How the hell did you get that from... No. I have absolutely no idea how that happened. Okay. Supreme Court sides with Montgomery County parents who objected to LGBTQ books in schools. Good. As well they should. I'm definitely putting that on the docket too. Yeah, here's the thing. If you don't want to have pornographic literature in a publicly funded school, that makes sense. Now, if it's just, hey, the protagonist happens to be a lesbian, nobody really cares. That was never the point. Nobody had a problem with that, not for the last 20 years or so. They only have a problem with books that are literally teaching sphincterbation. They are sexually, oriented. It would be the same as showing your kids tentacle porn from Japan or something like that. Why should this be taxpayer funded? It doesn't really educate anyone on anything that needs to be educated on. It's completely useless. It's immoral. I mean, and trust me, I'm no moralist. Fucking look at me. Do I look like the sort of person who goes around with a stick up his ass about people not worshiping Jesus enough or something? It's immoral to have adults effectively grooming small children into a particular sexual lifestyle. This is immoral. If you had a school, let me ask the liberals something. And some of you hate watch my videos. If a school were to say, well, only straight relationships are good, and to teach kids about only straight things, would you have a problem with it? I think that you would. Leave the kids alone. That's the only thing that we're asking. Nobody cares if gay dudes get married. Nobody cares if there's a lesbian bar. None of that it means nothing. Copium poppies. Poop. Mulgara. I hate that just the word poop cracked me the fuck up. I'm simple, lol. Yeah, please explain to me, from a liberal's perspective, how would this be acceptable if you had, like, straight sex books? It's like, penis goes in vagina, and stuff like that. You can have a rigorous sex ed curriculum and just tell the kids, do what you want to do, or because they're going to do anyway, so there's nothing you can do about it. But teaching them as an adult, if I were to start talking to a 5-year-old about fingering their asshole, I would be in jail. Yes, indeed. Oh, this 7-year-old over here, I'm gonna teach her how to scissor. That would be completely unacceptable. We would never accept that, right? Why should it be publicly funded then? It's the same activity. It's exactly the same. The only difference is it's taking place in a school. And people didn't even know that this was happening until fairly recently. Just like with critical race theory. It wasn't until it became sort of publicly acknowledged, and people flipped out, naturally. Hey, they're literally telling your kid how to be a racist. They're also telling him how to finger their asshole. And they're also telling him how to scissor and all of these other things. It's warped. It's honestly, and I say this as somebody, again, who is not moralistic. I say this as someone who is simply a pragmatist. It is warped. And it shouldn't be taxpayer funded. Look, kids are going to screw around. Teenagers are going to fuck each other. We all know this. We're all adults here. But it doesn't need to be actively encouraged by a government entity, which is effectively what a school is. It makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. Alan Cantrell, Sleazy P. Martini sent me here. Yeah, Sleazy's a cool dude. I've got a little Sleazy right back here, my man. Sleazy! I really like this. He sent it to me. I got all sorts of weird shit. I got a jar of dirt as well. You know, I figured if I wanted to be a real pirate, I would need one. Yeah, they're trying to teach little kids how to use a stripper pole and twerk and sphincterbait and weird shit like that. If you had done this back in the 1990s, you would have been literally hanged. The community would have made sure that you simply disappeared. Nobody would find the body because it would be disposed of with pigs or something like that. It would have been considered the ultimate perversion, and it is. The thing is that society is being nudged in the direction of not giving a shit about this. I am a classical liberal. I believe in maximized personal liberty. As little government and regulation and taxation as possible. Lots of guns, lots of blades, lots of flails and stuff like that. That's what I believe in. But that being said, kids are not capable of consent. If they're screwing around with each other and there's no coercion involved, that's going to happen. Let's be honest. Most of us, when we were, underage, we had a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever you had. But for adults to get involved, someone who's 40, 50 years old, to be reading the sphincterbation book, I think that most people in society probably agree that that's not acceptable. I'm just saying, it's a bare minimum sort of situation. Red Bull. By the way, this Red Bull, which is almost empty, is actually more than a week old. And it's still perfectly good. Spike. Also, my state dropped taxes on gold and silver. Bashir tried to block it and now has to pay me back taxes with interest. Plus, the bill to make it legal tender is working its way to the floor. Andy sucks. Cool. Copium. Sticks, did you ever do your homework that Clankton assigned you a while back? In other words, did you watch Freddy Got Fingered yet? No, I haven't. Not just a string. Only parents have the right to indoctrinate their kids, and indoctrinate, I mean raise them in their culture and religion to enable them to live meaningful lives, etc. I don't even believe in parental indoctrination. I believe that parents, generally speaking, should do free-range parenting. But when you've got an abusive system, which most of the school systems in the country seem to have devolved into, it is up to the parents to make sure that their children are not being indoctrinated into fingering their assholes. It's not necessary. Yeah, I mean, if Jimmy wants to finger his asshole, that's fine. I'm sure he'll discover that pleasure on his own. He doesn't need an adult to teach him about it. That's the whole point. There are theosophical manuscripts, by Besant and others, by the way, that preach against even having sex ed in schools. The idea is that it's an abomination, so to speak. I happen to agree with this. I don't think that sex ed needs to exist. Health education, like, hey, these are the diseases you can get if you engage in these behaviors, that's fine. But I remember one time, this is a funny story, when I was in 4th grade, right? They had a sex ed vid, and it showed, sort of a time lapse of an erection. It wasn't actually a penis. It was a drawing. But then I would go around for days and be like, doot, 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 doot. And I thought this was hilarious, and so did my buddies, actually. So I would do like the erection thing. I think I started a little bit of a mini trend there, actually, for a while. It was pretty funny. But the thing is, some of the things that were taught, you just like, oh, here's a boob. Wow. How impressive. Dude, it's the era of the internet. The kids are going to get exposed to sexual shit anyway. They don't need to be directly groomed by a bunch of adults. It's just not acceptable. Leave the kids alone. Richard Vernadow, Sticks, did you like school pizza in the lunchroom at school? Fun story. I had exactly one meal when I was in high school. I got a chicken sandwich, actually, from somebody else that didn't want it. Otherwise, I brought a thermos of tea every single day, and I did my homework, actually, during lunch. So my first periods of homework, other than, lab stuff or exams and shit like that, was already done. That way I could go home, and by the end of the day, my homework was pretty much knocked out of the way, and then I could play video games or go hiking and things like that. Let me tell you, my high school years were a lot more fun than when I was younger. I do remember elementary school pizza. The crust, if you can call it that, was really more cardboard than anything else. Yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. Just saying. Mulgara, while I'm still pissed at Trump for running that attack out on Massey on the 1-year anniversary of his wife's death, I'm glad that Massey has raised about $250K in 2 days. That's good. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think that it's wise to primary Massey out. He might be, stuck in the craw of Trump, so to speak, but I would agree. It's probably not a good idea to do that. I'm still Team Trump, but at the same time, it's not the most pragmatic thing that you could do, now is it? Heliosending. Hi, Litlair. See Kyle. I get the reference. By the way, I have been binge watching that music video from Kanye. I personally find it very amusing. And not just amusing, actually, it's sort of just a fuck you message to the world. It's like, hey, $100 million. The hell you talking about? I can do whatever the hell I want. He can buy and sell your whole neighborhood, probably. And so he doesn't have to give a fuck. And he's saying, hey, I'm going to speak my mind, say whatever the fuck I want. And I love it. See Kyle. Pre-59 Cuban. Craw, not craw. Did I just tune into the ass-fingering channel? What the fuck? No, we were just discussing, of course, the fact that liberals are trying to groom children. Yeah, Jimmy really needs to know how to stick his finger in his pooper. It's important education. Didn't you hear? Bernie Sanders probably told all about it. I would try that Bovart, but you should get the Vegemite. Yeah, Vegemite's pretty good too. It's got a slightly sour after flavor, whereas Bovrite is much more beefy. That's why I like it better, I guess. One tall order. Sticks. Ari, the lesbian, talked the other day. My lesbian friend and her girlfriend asked what I wanted for Christmas. I said, I want a watch. Imagine my disappointment when I opened a Rolex on Christmas Day. I like that one. Mulgara, imagine the casting call for that music video. Like, do you think Kanye told them what the song was about? Yeah, they were chanting Heil Hitler the whole time, so I'm assuming that they probably knew. I'm picturing them learning about it when they were singing it, lol. No, here's the thing. And actually, I've got a copy of a book by Kuzniar over there, called Black Nazis. Believe it or not, the Nazis actually had black auxiliary troops all throughout East Africa. Yep. Did you know that hundreds of thousands of black people worked for the Nazis? You probably never learned that in high school. Yep. The Afrika Korps was partially black. The auxiliary troops, of course, they're not going to be put in command or anything, but Hitler did not have any problem with employing people of non-European races. Hundreds of thousands of them actually joined them. Yep, but you never learn about that in school. Copium poppies. Missed one. Oh, shit, sorry. Bad sticks. Watch Freddy Got Fingered. You're missing out on some important cultural references. If you haven't seen Freddy Got Fingered, you hate America. Never mind the fact that Tom Green is Canadian. Huh. Oh, Mulgara, there was more than one black division. There were dozens of them, if I remember correctly. Spike, another one to watch for is Dems blaming rural hospital closures on Trump for Medicaid cuts. In my state of Kentucky alone, 13 are endangered, while 6 will be shutting down within a year without bailouts. Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem because Trump is sort of between a cock and a hard place with regards to that. Connect 200. Indians worked with Nazis. Yeah, you can get Hitler ice cream over in India right now, actually. In Singapore, there is a Nazi-themed bar, actually, if I remember correctly. It happens all the time. Only in the United States and Germany do you have a stick up your ass about these things. You're more likely to see a Dutchman saying Sieg Heil. It's rather interesting, actually, how political correctness has really taken hold. In other words, communism has taken hold in some of the places that we're supposed to be among the freest of nations. The United States, Germany was, after the reunification of Germany, it was not reckoned to be particularly censorious for a while there. But people have a fucking problem with Nazis. Well, who cares if somebody flies a swastika? Unless they're doing it right outside of a synagogue, it's not really hateful at all. Maybe they're just joking. And I have a feeling that Kanye's song is mostly meant as sarcasm. It's basically lashing out at the music industry. He knew he was going to get, his video taken down and shit. He did this to mock the music industry, censorship, and apparently his ex. Heliosending. This is a fancy restaurant. Stand and deliver, my man. Mulgera, can you believe that Ron Paul is turning 90 on August 9th? Oh, shit. I didn't realize that. He's going to have a barbecue in Texas. I was going to go to that, but he's coming to D.C. the next week to give a talk, so I'm going to that. He's having a Texan barbecue. And I have a feeling that a dude from that era can probably cook a good steak. Man, where do I get an invite? I would like to meet Ron Paul. That'd be hilarious. Mulgera, you still have that signed Ron Paul book I sent you, right? Yes, indeed, I do. It is in the bedroom, actually, at the moment. Yeah, Ron Paul is pretty cool. I've gotten dozens of books from subscribers over the years. And then I've, bought thousands of them. It's quite a collection, not gonna lie. Heliosending. Every time a war breaks out, my brain goes, let's start a war, start a nuclear war at the gay bar, gay bar, gay bar. I like that song, by the way. I was considering, actually, when I was in New York City, I'm like, just for novelty, it would be kind of fun to go to the gay bar just once and see the reception, so to speak. Pirate walks into a gay bar and, there's dudes in spandex and weird shit. But then I was like, well, I'd rather not. Can't drink. Court ordered. Copium poppies. You don't get an invite, you buy tickets. Oh, Mulgera, I could send you a link to the barbecue if you'd like. That sounds good. Ron Paul cooks you a ribeye steak? Sign me up. BWI, you're gonna have a huge docket Monday, LMAO. Yeah, I've already got 2 loaded at the moment. And, well, that's for tomorrow, so that's not Monday, but yeah, I have a feeling that some weird ass shit is going to happen over the next few days. Israel and Iran, more science news, of course. I like to mix it up a little bit and do something that's not political once in a while. Yeah, the problem with going to the gay bar is that I can't drink alcohol, and so I would have to have mocktails. And then people would really think that I was gay. Just joking. Connie Dan, in the 60s, my older brother drew swastikas for his friends and no one thought a thing about it. Yeah, I had a friend in high school. This is before people were politically sensitive. And he drew a swastika with a Star of David around it and labeled it Nazi Jew, actually. And but he was Jewish, so of course nobody had a problem with it. Spike, per State Department, Rwanda and Congo have signed a peace treaty brokered by the Trump admin. Trump is just winning everywhere this week. Oh, excellent. I didn't know they were at war. I was not aware that... I was not aware that, that there was actually a war going on there. Or conflict. I hate using that term. $199 to get a ribeye steak from Ron Paul. These terms are acceptable. Richard Verndow, there's a video of Styx singing Gay Bar that I made. Lol, it's on the other platform Styx uses that some of you also watch his lives on. Okay, you need to link that to me. Please link that to me, like, as quickly as possible, because I'll die laughing. Connect 200. Hitler may not have liked other races, but he will work with them if it benefited him. i.e. Slavs. Yeah. No, he never actually... he criticized Heinrich Himmler for being too racist. Heinrich Himmler was the one that was mainly involved with the eugenic thing. Hitler thought it was nonsense. He just wanted to put people he didn't like in work camps and shit like that. Himmler just wanted to do experiments and wipe them out. And of course, then you've got the Angel of Death, and that's its whole separate issue. Hitler, ironically enough, was less racist than most of the people around him. Goebbels, Himmler, and so forth. Rommel was the only standout. He didn't give a shit. It's probably why he was put in charge of the North African campaign. Mulgera, just sent the link to the barbecue. I'll just take going to the DC talk. It'd be only an hour-long drive, and it'd be a lot cheaper. Cool. Why are you spamming Warwick? No, Shaylock. Actually, the Hitler mustache was the result of the use of gas masks from World War I, in which Adolf Hitler was actually a decorated veteran. He was a courier, actually, which meant he had one of the most dangerous jobs he could possibly have in World War I, with trench warfare and all. Apparently, a British soldier once had him in his sights and regretted not taking the shot. It's like, well, it's just a messenger, so I'll leave him alone. I bet he... Can you imagine when he went back to the pub in the 1950s or thereabouts? I bet he got some shit for that. Bobby Bobinson, my sentencing is next month via Zoom call, actually. So again, I'm not particularly worried. Don Aquila's channel, 2890. Say my name. I just did. Yes, the historic Hitler mustache, which has completely fallen out of favor, was the result of the fact that men typically wanted to have facial hair, but it wouldn't fit with a gas mask. Like, if I put a gas mask on right now, I'd have to fucking shave my goatee off in order to actually make it seal. So what they did was they had the little, little tiny mustaches. So you'd have facial hair. It marked you as an adult, mature man, but at the same time, it wouldn't interfere with the seal of a gas mask. That's the exact reason why that happened. The Hitler mustache is basically a remnant of World War I more than anything else. Yeah, Bobby, I'm pretty optimistic. I don't think there'll be a problem. Don't worry. I'll take care of myself. Yeah, the toothbrush stash, the Charlie Chaplin. I actually gave myself a Hitler mustache once. I thought it was pretty funny. And then people took the video entirely out of context and they've made 1,000 derivations of that, actually. That was pretty funny. Oh, good. Richard Vernodow sent the link on Twitter. Keep in mind, keep in mind, sometimes Twitter doesn't like to load messages, either on my phone or on the PC. So let me check. Will it load now, or do I have to wait? Oh, it's there. Oh yeah, I see the barbecue link. Mulgera. Copium poppies. Depends on the gas mask. I have a goatee and stubble usually, and my gas mask seals just fine. Yeah, it does depend on the style, but back then, it was a little bit more primitive 100 years ago. Mulgera. God, I couldn't imagine shaving my facial hair for a gas mask. I'm looking practically like an Orthodox Christian with my beard currently. Kinda wop-like though, because it does grow outwards a bit. Lol. Yeah. By the way, little known fact, back in the World War I period, some gas masks, they had an exterior filter, and you had to piss on them in order to activate the filtration system. The French especially, their gas masks, they had to piss all over them in order to actually use them. Now you can imagine the smell of the battlefield on some of those days. Anyways, I'm going to let you all go because I've got to get to other things. I've got to go out and go to a few stalls and things, don't you know? And I've got to docket all of this news because now I've got 3 things, at least 3 shots in the locker just for tomorrow. So it's going to be a fun day. That's about all. Peace out.